sports fans. You are listening live to the Louisiana All-American Sports Talk Radio Show. I'm your host, Kerry Daniels, here with my partner,
Eric Hatfield here in the building, and we are ready for an exciting and scintillating afternoon, morning of sports action from Baton Rouge, from Louisiana, and all around the nation. We have a whole hour chock full of sports goodness for you, so lock it in, rip the knob off, and get ready to roll. Perry?
We're going to get started across the river over in Plaquemine, Eric, where Julius Morasalin and the Plaquemine Green Devils stayed undefeated in District 6 4A play as they beat the Lutcher Bulldogs 36-32 last night. Morasalin carried the ball 38 times for 207 yards rushing. Lutcher had 4 second-half turnovers. Plaquemine is ranked 7th in the state in Class 4A. Over in Gonzales, Woodlawn High first-year coach Brett Beard went down to Gonzales to take on a very good Santamar team last night. And the Woodlawn Purple Panthers pulled off the upset as they converted a 2-point conversion in overtime to give Santamar its first district loss of the year and snap a 6-game Santamar Gator winning streak. Woodlawn is now 1-2 in District 5 5A. In other District 5 5A action, the Dutchtown Griffins watched East Ascension's field goal attempt sail wide right as time expired in the game, and Dutchtown held to a 1-point victory to give the East Ascension Spartans their first loss of the year.
Well, that Dutchtown team is worth noting because, of course, we will be covering the Big 5-5A matchup between the Dutchtown Griffins coming to South Baton Rouge to play the McKinley Panthers. That will be live next week at 7 p.m. on Friday, November 1st, on www.louisianaallamericansports.com. So we'll see what those Dutchtown Griffins can bring to the South Side.
Right. So lastly, in our sports roundup, we've got 2 games. So first we're going to go to Southern Lab versus Christian Life, and for the second week in a row, Southern Lab has scored over 40 points in a district contest. They beat Christian Life 40-14 to remain undefeated in District 6 1A play.
So how was Derek Pate last night?
Derek Pate caught a touchdown pass last night, Eric. And next week, Southern Lab travels to Kentwood to take on the Kentwood Kangaroos in a battle of 6 1A teams that are undefeated.
You know, we went to Doug Williams Stadium and we broadcast Southern Lab earlier this year, taking on WHYR on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com. They looked like, you know, a 1A team that had some growing to do with it. They're putting up 40 points. They're doing something right.
You know what? And I thought it was going to be a long season for the Southern Lab kids. Right. I didn't think they would win a game.
Yeah, they looked really, they looked like they had a lot of growing to do, but apparently those kittens have grown into cats.
Hey, they've put it together. Coach Nick.
Oh, I'm going to butcher this man's name.
Oh, well, he's doing a great job. Coach Nick Mitchell.
I knew it was with an M. There we go.
Over at Southern Lab, you're doing a fantastic job. You've really got the kittens playing well. Good luck to you as you travel up to Kentwood next week to take on an extremely powerful Kentwood Kangaroo team that put up 55 points against Madison Prep Thursday night. So they beat Madison Prep 55-0 Thursday night, Kentwood Kangaroos. Ooh. Last night we went to Port Allen. That was the game of the week for LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com. And you want to talk about that game?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just switch sides with you real quick. Yeah, we had one heck of a game last night. It looked like Port Allen would have their senior night, and of course that's the last home game of the year, the last time the seniors will play in front of their fellow students and fans. It was it looked like it was going to get out of control early. You had Parkview Baptist. The Parkview Baptist Eagles were the visiting team, and you know, they're pretty good. They have a Shrine on Airline. They have Coach Kenny Diot with a long-standing, he's a long-standing established coach.
They're the defending 3A state champions.
Right. I mean, they're the real deal. So they came in to Port Allen last night. Port Allen had a losing record going in. I want to say it was 2-4. And I was a little concerned going in as Parkview Baptist got 2 really quick touchdowns, one by Eric Martinez, and then another one set up very quickly by Houston Robert, and they jumped out to a 13-0 lead pair. I mean, it was midway through the first quarter, and I'm thinking, okay, perhaps the route is on. But those Port Allen Pelicans, I was really impressed with some things I saw last night. I was impressed with their defense. After the quick 13-0 strike, they did not give anything easily to those Parkview Baptist Eagles. And really, I think once their sophomore quarterback, Alex Hebert, becomes more comfortable, I mean, next year, the year after, the Pelicans could really be a force to be reckoned with. But nonetheless, Parkview Baptist got up early. Then they tacked on another touchdown in the third quarter. It was 23-0, and it was starting to look like it was just getting away, like Port Allen was putting up a valiant effort. But then all of a sudden, it started to happen in the fourth quarter as we take you to what happened there. Here we go. Hang on. Here we go.
The whole purpose of a screen pass is to set up a screen. Here comes the blitz. Oh, reverse. There it is. Open.
As possible to score, that they try to go for the onside kick right then. And that's what they did, and it worked out to no avail.
Yeah, it's the thing was, I think that the Parkview Baptist Eagles saw it coming. I'm going to replay that first score of the game by Port Allen, just in case the kids are listening. They definitely deserve the 15 minutes. What happened? We had a double reverse on third down. I don't think anyone saw it coming. Certainly Parkview Baptist didn't. We did it, but it did inject some life in the game. Let's try that again. And
The whole purpose of a screen pass is to set up a screen. Here comes the blitz. Reverse. There it is. Open. Receivers open. It's caught. DeMarcus Franklin throws. It's complete. And for a touchdown. A double reverse. Half back out pass from DeMarcus Franklin to Lorenzo Osborne. And that is a 63-yard touchdown pass.
so DeMarcus Franklin, the running back and punter, who had been kept pretty busy all night, what we saw were a lot of plays where Alex Hebert had trouble throwing the football. You're thinking they're going to run a draw, or maybe the reverse was set up to get Franklin running. But Franklin found Osborne deep, 63 yards, and bingo.
Right. You know what, Eric? I had a chance to talk with Coach Parker, the defense coordinator, last night after the game. And one of the things he mentioned is I should have told him we were there, man. He had some nice food set up for us. Right. So I dropped the ball there. He kind of got on me about that. But he did such a fantastic job as the defensive coordinator last night for Port Allen.
He did.
We thought it was going to be a blowout of a game.
He adjusted really well. I was impressed.
Yes. And since we're talking about Port Allen, Coach Parker is the father of Nick Parker, the point guard for the Port Allen Pelicans. And on December the 10th, Nick Parker should go over the 2,000-point mark for his career in high school.
Wow.
And they've invited us out there to cover that game. They play Christian Life.
That's fantastic.
December the 10th at Port Allen. And I've got arrangements for an exclusive announcement. When Nick Parker announces where he's going to school, he's going to do it live from our studio.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, wow, all right. So you heard that, December 10th, lock it in, rip the knob off Louisiana, allamericansports.com, Christian Life, and Port Allen.
Right.
So,
I've got the White Castle coach to do an interview, so and that'll wrap up our high school segment of the day.
let me just want to wrap that. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and transition to that in just a moment. But I want to take it. Port Allen again continued to battle back. It was 23-8, so we're thinking, okay, Parkview Baptist recovers the onside kick. They went 3 and out. Speaking of the defensive adjustments that were made, that got the Pelicans the ball back, and in the final 2 minutes of the game, they showed some more signs of life as they marched the ball down the field, got inside the 10-yard line.
First and goal, ball at the 7-yard line. Here come the Pelicans. Dropping back, Hebert throws, end zone, touchdown! Port Allen's got the lead. With 2 minutes and 47 seconds to go. Touchdown, it is now 23-14.
So Alex Abair, he found, I hope I don't butcher this young man's first name, Torian Allen, number 81, wide receiver. I hope I got that right. But that cut it down. They got the 2-point conversion in. So it's 23-16, 7-point game. Port Allen did get one final possession with about in the final 30 seconds, but it was to no avail. They tried a hook and ladder play, resulted in a fumble. But, against a team like Parkview Baptist, to say they were able to march back and make a game out of that, Perry, I was really, really impressed by what those Pelicans had on the board there.
Yeah, no give up, no quit in the Port Allen program. Coach Blanchard did a fantastic job of preparing those guys. And they're going to be a pretty good team, Eric.
Okay, so sit tight with us. We'll be back in just a moment after this brief musical entertainment. You are listening to Louisiana All-American Sports. This is 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio. Southern had Arkansas Pine Bluff on the schedule last week. Can we give us a little insight into what took place there?
Yeah, Southern University pulled out the victory up in Arkansas, where they've traditionally had, where they've struggled. They haven't won a game up there in the last 4 attempts. This year, they were able to go up there, pull out a very close victory, but a victory nonetheless. And they're coming home today, getting ready for homecoming, as they're ready for the Alcorn State Braves come to town.
Big rivalry.
Big rivalry. The alma mater of the late, great
Steve McNair.
Steve McNair, R.I.P. Steve McNair. Alcorn State comes to town, and they are looking to pull off the upset today. They only have one SWAC loss, Eric.
So that's going to be a tough one.
This is going to be a tough game here. Southern has a SWAC loss. So does Alcorn State. The winner of this will be in the driver's seat in the Western Conference. In the Western Division of that conference. So it should be a really good game. Alcorn State runs the ball really well. That sounds like that's our interview with Coach Lamar Thomas of the White Castle Bulldogs.
Sorry about that. So while we sit tight, we're going to wait for Perry to get White Castle's head coach on the line.
Going good. Let me.
And we'll be with that very shortly. But Southern University keeping it going. In fact, sit tight for a break as we get Coach queued up. We'll be back in just a moment. Go.
All right, we have on the phone for an interview Coach Lamar Thomas of the White Castle Bulldogs. Last night, White Castle took on Ascension Christian, and the final score of that game was 66-6, Coach?
That's correct.
All right, fantastic. Congratulations to you. Great job. Give us some of your thoughts on last night's game.
Well, last night's game was a good game for us to get back on the winning track, and we got all our kids back healthy, and good job taking fundamentals and playing Bulldog football, and just we want to get back on the winning track. We've done that. A lot of kids got to put on our next opponent, rather, which is Ascension Catholic.
Okay, so that Ascension Catholic team, Coach, do they have a district loss?
Yes, they lost last night to West St. John.
They lost to West St. John, so you and them both have one loss apiece in district play.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's a pretty big game. What do you look to do next week against Ascension Catholic?
Well, they're an option team. We got to come out and be disciplined and play assignment football, and make sure that we play that option game, take away the triple threat option, take away the fullback. They got a good quarterback, and they got some guys that can pitch the ball and get the ball pitched to, and they can turn the corner. Fantastic.
Who are some of the standout players for the Bulldogs, Coach?
Right now, our running backs are playing well. Dontrell Taylor's playing well, and also Darryl Young is coming back off the injury. He's been bothered by a hamstring. He's coming back and almost at 100%. Our fullbacks, Cal Zackley's been playing well, and my offensive got a good push from my offensive line. They've been kind of gelling and developing depth and playing some more kids there. And Moses Young is coming around at free safety. He's stepping up. I think he had 2 interceptions for touchdowns this week.
Okay. Any of those kids being recruited at the college level, Coach?
Moses Young is being looked at, and everybody knows that Robert Franklin is being looked at. He had an interception return and a touchdown pass. Punt return and a touchdown pass.
Who are some of the schools looking at Robert Franklin?
I think Southern University is looking at him, and ULL is looking at him.
Fantastic. He's going to stay local. That's awesome. Well, look, Coach, we'd like to thank you for taking the time, getting up this morning. We know film sessions are very important for high school coaches on Saturday mornings. We appreciate you taking the time to join our listeners here at WHYR LP Baton Rouge 96.9. Good luck to the Bulldogs the rest of the year. We've decided here, Coach, that if you guys pull out the victory next week against Ascension Catholic, we'll definitely be there for that final game against those West St. John Rams, which will be for the 6-1A. Is that 6? What district is that, Coach, again? 8-1A, for the 8-1A championship.
That's correct. I appreciate it, and hopefully look forward to seeing you guys there.
Fantastic, Coach. Good luck to you the rest of the season. Tell Coach Jackson we said hello.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Peace.
All right, so those White Castle Bulldogs are really they're living up to, I'll tell you, you go to White Castle, there's a lot of spirit in that whole town. They really rally around that team. They're very closely knit with the community, and it's going to be very, very interesting if they are playing for a district title 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, it's like the entire town shuts down. They actually revolve around that high school and the sports at that high school, and everybody in the little community is out there in support of that high school. So it's always a great time when we go to White Castle. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully, nothing against Ascension Catholic, but we like covering meaningful football games. And so we hope that White Castle can pull out the victory this week, and that'll lead to that showdown against the West St. John Rams in Week 10.
All right, so let's jump on back. We're going over some Southern University football while we were waiting to get Coach on the air. So Southern went there. They whooped up on Pine Bluff, even though they've, you mentioned before last week's broadcast, they've had some trouble in the past with Arkansas Pine Bluff. But this week they go out there, they got the victory. Now they have those Braves of Alcorn State coming to town. Do you think this is going to have, this is almost a rhetorical question, but apparently, I'm sure it's going to have some implications down the road in that SWAC race. I mean, I'd imagine the winner here is going to be probably in the driver's seat, really.
The winner is definitely in the driver's seat, especially with Prairie View A&M losing an additional game. So now they're a full game behind Southern with 2 district division losses. So it's between Alcorn and Southern University right here. In fact, if Southern University can pull this out with the state of affairs up at Grambling,
right,
the way that they are, it's almost a lock for Southern to get back to the SWAC championship, which they haven't won a SWAC championship since 2003, when the motto was Return to Dominance, RTD, and that's what they're trying to do right now, return to the dominating teams that they had in the early 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, and they'll go a long way there. Look, I saw this morning on the way in, Eric, though, those Grambling Tigers, the alumni has decided to reach out to Pete Richardson.
Really?
Yes.
Former Southern University head coach Pete Richardson, who won 2 black college football national championships with Southern, one in 1993, another in 2003. Is that correct?
Right.
So that will be very interesting to see how that unfolds and develops, because Coach Richardson knows his business.
That would really intensify the rivalry.
Yeah, you think? We're going to move on to LSU in just a moment, but I got to ask you one question, Barry, with in the SWAC. Whoever thought there'd be a day, because I certainly didn't, where we'd be talking about Prairie View A&M's loss as being relevant in any way, shape, or form the SWAC race.
That's right.
I'm still wrapping my head around that. Well, let's go on to some LSU football, shall we? Yeah, LSU, Ole Miss. Boy, oh boy. LSU went to Oxford, played unranked Ole Miss last week, lost on a last-second 41-yard field goal by University of Mississippi kicker Andrew Ritter as time expired. That dropped LSU overall to 6-2, 3-2 in the Southeastern Conference. I don't even know where to start. Zach Mettenberger, 3 interceptions in that game. That will pretty much stomp out any talk of the Heisman we had for Mettenberger in what was shaping up to be a very tight quarterback-driven race between he and Brent Hudley and Johnny Manziel in Texas A&M trying to go back-to-back, and Teddy Bridgewater in Louisville, and, of course, Jameis Winston in Florida State. That will pretty much eliminate Mettenberger from the Heisman race, which is too bad. 2 interceptions in the end zone, absolutely thwarted LSU. They came back in the second half and played like the team they were supposed to be, but the problem is they were already trailing 17-0. When you're down by that many, you have no room for error. LSU did tie the score, 24 apiece on a Jarvis Landry touchdown late in the game, but they never got to see the football again as Ole Miss continued to run the ball successfully. That in spite of their starting running back, Jeff Scott, being out. They got the backup in, I can't remember his name, number 6, but he kept just running all over LSU's defense. They set it up. Some questionable clock management at the very end. With Mississippi ran the ball on 3rd down. They were stopped with 25 seconds remaining, and instead of calling their final timeout, giving LSU some hope of getting down the field, perhaps to set up a game-tying field goal or scoring a go-ahead touchdown, Miles let the clock run down to 3 seconds with the intent of icing the kicker, which... I'm a big Les Miles fan, but that made no sense to me whatsoever. It's like when the clock gets low, he's thinking about something else other than the clock. Mississippi kicks the field goal and they win.
We've seen this repeatedly out of Les Miles late in games. And I'm a fan of Les Miles for other reasons other than his X's and O's and his time management.
Right.
As a person, I like what he's done with the LSU program.
Real quick, the only fan of Les Miles' time management would be Bama fans, Ole Miss fans.
Right.
I just think that just jumped on mine. Sorry to interrupt, Perry. Go ahead.
But what he's done with the LSU program, personnel-wise, coaching staff, I've got to applaud the man. He's done a fantastic job.
Players love him.
They love him. They love playing for him. But his time management, that's just basic. I don't understand that. Now, LSU, Eric, we've been talking each week about the LSU defense, and we thought that some things were worked out after we saw them play against Florida, whose offense is more anemic than we realized when they were here in Baton Rouge. That Florida offense is just not very good at all.
No.
Which made the LSU Tigers fans think that we had corrected some issues on our defense.
Right, and clearly not.
We have not. And Coach Chavis, who we've spoken about the last couple of weeks on the show, Coach Chavis, I think, Eric, that he's far more intelligent than us. He knew that this defense was not ready.
Oh, there's some things that you can coach all the X's and O's in the world. You can have your players. You can even get your players mentally prepared to. We have not seen the mistakes with them being out of position and the communication errors. But what you can only practice so much, and you can't enforce in the field is tackling. The tackling's been very shoddy.
They cannot tackle.
And that was killing them up front. You can't coach. You can only coach so much of missed tackles, and it just seems like. Again, I always say this: the first college football game I play, it'll be my first. The first one I coach, it'll be my first. But that's an X's and O's kind of thing, much like clock management. Clock management is not about strategy, it's math. Right. Tackling is about fundamental technique, and those were some very basic tackles that were missed, and it killed. It turned to be the death of LSU in that game.
Right, but not only are they missing tackles, they're blowing assignments. There's still people running wide open, and we saw that in the Mississippi State game, but that quarterback couldn't execute the passes.
Right.
So they ended up deflected or dropped but now you get a halfway decent quarterback.
Bo Wallace is a step up from Dak Prescott.
Right.
Big step up.
He was able to execute, and LSU ended up, where they did. So.
Right. Well, that's pretty much going to slam the door on any national championship aspirations LSU has for this year. Still a long shot for the SEC title if they can win at Alabama, which LSU has had Nick Saban's number, much like Ole Miss has had ours in some ways.
Right.
If they can pull it off and they beat Texas A&M, Bama would have to drop one other game, but it's a long shot. But LSU's not dead for the SEC West. They are pretty much dead for the national championship. You have Oregon, Ohio State. A lot of teams that are undefeated still. So
I do think we see one of those undefeateds fall today.
I think so. I think so. You have and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other action going on in college football. But you have Oregon, big game today with UCLA, and they can play some ball. So no getting around it. It's nothing's in the bag. But Ohio State has a very soft schedule the rest of the way. You'd have to figure. Now, of course, Ohio State has a tendency to go Ohio State every year and lose to some school they have no business losing to. So I'm not going to hold my breath in them yet. But in all probability, you're going to have at least one undefeated team, I think, in the national championship game.
I think Missouri falls today to South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina, we'll talk about that a little bit. I actually think Missouri's going to win that one today with Connor Shaw being out and with that game being at home. But South Carolina, the old ball coach, that is a 50-50 game. I think the line has Missouri very slightly favored. That could tip either way, and that could be their Waterloo today. Every Cinderella story, it tends to hit midnight every year. It doesn't happen very often. You don't have too many 69 Mets very often.
They're playing with a third-string quarterback today. If Missouri wins today, then they will gain my respect. And you already, before the game's kicked off, you have to pencil Missouri into the SEC championship from the Eastern Division.
Yeah, because there's not much there. The pickings are awful slim in the East. I mean, you have the University of Georgia, but they dropped that second game. They're circling the drain. South Carolina, if they lose today, they're pretty much done.
Right.
Missouri's making doubters out of believers. I mean, when James Franklin went down, their starting quarterback, and with a shoulder injury, and freshman Matty Mock took over. So ironic that you have another SEC quarterback named Matt Mock. But anyway, spelled differently. But freshman Matty Mock came in, and he did a pretty good job. He did just enough. He didn't light up the scoreboard. But, you had the Florida Gators defense that he was facing, so you're probably not going to light up the scoreboard.
Right.
And they won. And, he's completing. He had almost 300 yards in that game. So, Connor Shaw for South Carolina is out. The reason I think Missouri has the slightest edge is that Connor Shaw makes a lot of plays with his feet. His feet are going to be missed as much as his arm. By the way, if you want to jump in on this conversation, talk LSU's letdown. We're going to get back to LSU Furman very shortly, but talk LSU, SEC football. Call us at 343-9927. That's 343-9927. We'd love to hear from you. Like to know what you think. But anyway, you have Matty Mock, the quarterback, and he held together. But, the big weapon for South Carolina, especially with Connor Shaw out, is running back Mike Davis, 879 yards already this year, 10 touchdowns, averaging almost 7 yards a carry. Instead of having to worry about Shaw or Davis, now, boom, they can focus their efforts and key in on Shaw. They can stack some men in the box. I think it's going to make it hard for the old ball coach and for South Carolina with that charged-up Missouri crowd knowing that they have something to play for today.
Right.
So, anyway, back to LSU, though. LSU's homecoming game is tonight against Furman. Furman is an FCS school. This is a body bag game. I'm hoping LSU can run up about 60 tonight and take out some of those frustrations on the Furman Paladins. Furman's not even that spectacular in their own division. I did a little recon on them. I saw that they had beaten Appalachian State 27-10 last week, and I'm thinking,
that's a good win.
Yeah, you'd think so, but apparently it's not. Appalachian State only has one win on the season. There must be a down year, because I'm thinking like you, because Appalachian State has won the has been in the running for the FCS championship almost every year, it seems like.
Right.
Something must have gone afoul there. I'm not too familiar with Mountaineers football, but I was like, oh, man, we better watch out for these guys. And I'm like, they could come in. They might be able to score a few points, make us sweat a little bit, make us, give us a little bit of a problem and run up some points like some of the inferior schools have, especially coming off of a loss. And I'm saying, oh, my God, here come the Paladins. We might be in for a battle today. Not exactly. Not quite what one might expect off an Appalachian State victory. So I think LSU is going to pound these guys. The Paladins are 3-4, 2-2 in Southern Conference play. I think LSU wins this one. What do you think, 50 points or 60 points, Perry?
I'm not sure. It'll be a sound victory. Let's say 50 just to stay safe. But, it's homecoming over there on that side of the camp, that side of the city as well.
Right.
It's homecoming up in North Baton Rouge, homecoming in South Baton Rouge. They're even celebrating homecoming in Hammond this week.
Oh, my goodness.
At Southeastern.
Right.
So, I think LSU will put a sound whooping on Furman. Oh, yeah. And it'll be a 50-point lead.
I think they're going to beat Furman like he was Mark Furman. Okay, so moving on to other college football action. We have, in the Big 12, big matchup today at Oklahoma. Perry, we talked about Oregon and Ohio State and Missouri, but the Texas Tech Red Raiders are undefeated right now. They're 7-0.
Really?
And see, and that's the reaction that a lot of folks have when you say that. It's with all the talk of these other schools, the Big 12 Red Raiders have quietly flown under the radar. They're 7-0 now, going to Norman, Oklahoma today. You talk about Alabama and Oregon and Florida State. Well, Texas Tech is right there. Now, they have been, even though they fired Mike Leach a couple of years ago, they've kept this philosophy going. They're airing the ball out, averaging over 400 yards a game in the air, not trying to run the ball. Defense has been optional over there in Lubbock, Texas. But, they're undefeated, and they go to Norman, Oklahoma today. And I'll tell you what, this is a chance for them to prove themselves. And, granted, Oklahoma lost to Texas, kind of a shocking upset last week, but still, Oklahoma at the very least has a reputation, and they're going to Oklahoma. Texas Tech, I think, jumps comfortably well into the top 10 if they win this game today, Perry.
Well, isn't Baylor out of that conference? They're already in the top 10.
Correct. Baylor's in there. They're ranked high. They're at number, they were 6 last week. I'm not sure if they moved up or not. They're undefeated as well.
Wow.
So but that's going to be a collision
Baylor
course.
and Texas Tech. Wow.
I mean, yeah, that's something you wouldn't see coming. But it's going to depend on what they do today. It's going to depend on what happens in Oklahoma. I mean, look, they got Oklahoma still has Brennan Clay, who could just run people over almost 500 yards. He's averaging 6 yards a carry this season. And their 1-2 punch is another running back named Damian Williams, also a senior. He's averaging 4 yards a carry. Texas Tech is not that strong against the run. I think that Texas Tech meets their Waterloo today. I don't keep on beating Waterloo into the ground. I don't think Mr. Napoleon Spirit would appreciate it, but I do think that they're going to get it today against Oklahoma. I think when you have all air and defense optional, eventually that's going to come to get you against the stronger teams.
Right.
So moving along in our world of college football, as we travel on down west of the Mississippi, ESPN Game Day is in Oregon today for that big Pac-12 matchup between the UCLA Bruins and the Oregon Ducks. This is another game where you can expect a whole lot of offense, but unlike Texas Tech, these teams can also play some competent defense. You have Brent Hundley, the gifted, spectacular quarterback for UCLA, 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, completing 67% of his passes. And you have Oregon's Marcus Mariota, looks like some kind of a video game QB, some kind of a fantasy QB, already has over 2,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 0 interceptions this year.
0 interceptions.
That is UCLA dropped one to Stanford last week, so they show that Hundley can be stifled, but Stanford's a pretty good team in their own right. So it's not like UCLA dropped one to a cupcake. They were just simply out-battled. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Coach Jim Mora Jr. of the UCLA Bruins has a solid, strong, smart game plan, very gifted quarterback. But I'm not going to go against Oregon, playing in Eugene, Oregon, until I actually see somebody beat them. I'll believe that when I see it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm going to go ahead and give that Oregon quarterback the Heisman. I think he is far and away the best college quarterback in the country, even better than the Florida State guy who played
Jameis Winston.
Played very well last week against Taj Boyd and the Clemson Tigers, and Clemson did it again. They fall, this time not to an inferior team as they've done in the past, though. They fall to a very good Florida State football team.
Florida State's in the front of the pack now. Yes. I mean, they're right there in the conversation.
Yes, until they get to Miami. I think the Hurricanes are going to pull off an upset in that old traditional rivalry. And you know what, Eric? We've been talking on this program a couple of weeks ago. I was talking about how, the possibility of games being fixed in the United States as well as they are around the world in some of the soccer games. And you vehemently disagreed with me that it would happen here in the United States. So I'm going to I grew up with a guy who's in that profession now. He is what we call a fixer. And I'm going to give the fixer a call while you go to the next segment, and we'll see if we can put him on the air. after that.
The Fixer. I like
The
that
Fixer.
one. that kind of reminds me of, for any of you fans of Seth MacFarlane out there, Roger and American Dad calling himself the Decider. So we'll see. We'll see what the Fixer has to bring to the table. That should be a good one. Well, going on with some gridiron, continue with the gridiron action, let's step it up to the National Football League. Big game. Well, they're all big. Big game in New Orleans tomorrow as we have the Saints hosting the Buffalo Bills. Their rookie quarterback, E.J. Manuel, has some life. They have a pulse up there in upstate New York. Buffalo's coming into New Orleans. They've been kind of up and down all year, but they've definitely shown that they're capable of competing in games. They have not just been a pushover team, and their rookie quarterback, E.J. Manuel, has had some flashes. I think that with the Saints' defensive scheme by defensive coordinator Rob Ryan, it's going to create some trouble for Manuel. Stevie Johnson is a little nicked up, though I think he's going to play. That's the Bills' star wide receiver. So I think that we're going to have I think Buffalo will make the Saints sweat perhaps a little bit in that game, especially in the first half. But I think with a rookie quarterback, talk right in the mic. With a rookie quarterback,
Gee, can you hear me?
coming to town, with a rookie quarterback coming to town, that's going to be a real challenge.
Hold on. I can't hear you.
Hang on a second. We're having just a technical difficulty problem. We'll be back in just less than 60 seconds. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Now, we've got my childhood friend. I grew up with him. His name is the G-Man, Eric. And the G-Man lives in Las Vegas. And the G-Man, what's going on, G?
What's going on?
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, I know you talked to me, man. We grew up together. Give me some inside information on sporting events that are taking place this weekend, man. What can you tell me about the Saints game?
Well, I can tell you, I woke up this morning looking at the line. The Saints opened up at 11.5 favorites, but right now, Vegas is only giving 10.5. Must be an injury or something going on in there. I can't tell you how that happened. That's my little personal opinion.
Okay. 10.5 point favorites by the Saints over the Bills. What about what other games can you tell us about?
Well, I know the Cardinals are playing in the World Series today.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we know a little bit about the Cardinals due to the fact that we might be from that area.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Cardinals at home, they given the Cardinals 1.5.
1.5 point favorite, 1.5 run favorite over the Boston Red Sox in Game 3 of the World Series tonight in St. Louis. Do you think that's a good bet?
I would say that it is, due to the Cardinals offense, and they at home, nice atmosphere coming off a good win up there in Boston, and probably want to close this thing out.
Okay. Anything else for us?
Not at the moment. Anything else you'd like?
Yeah, man. I've got to ask you one last thing before I let you go, man. Did you have anything to do with the LSU game this past weekend?
Well, all I can tell you is, I was down in Baton Rouge a couple of weeks ago, right?
Right.
I was sitting down, and he sitting at the table next to me. So he couldn't pay his tab. So I told him, write the F-bomb on the tip line and NFL draft on the signature line. If you would take care of his tab, and I would take care of his tab. So he agreed to it.
Okay.
And I told him, when I get the option, you know what I mean, would he take care of that for me? And he took care of that for me.
And he took care of that for you. All right, G. That's all I wanted to know, man. That's all I wanted to know. I know you got to go. Hey, stay off the grid. That'll keep you out of jail, man. Take care.
Hey, peace. Y'all do a good thing, man.
For sure. That was the G-Man, the Fixer, calling from Las Vegas. Eric, I don't know if you got a chance to hear that, man, but I asked him, did he have any part in the LSU deal, and he mentioned a few things there that sounded kind of suspect.
The Fixer. I am the Fixer.
So we're going to check in with the Fixer from time to time on our show.
Oh, man, that was good. Look, thanks for joining us, Fixer. Why don't you fix up Alabama loss while you're at it? Maybe a Texas A&M loss, too. We can use some fixing going on here with all the fixings.
Right. Where were we? We were in NFL sports.
Yeah, back to NFL with all the fixings. Sorry about that interruption there, but, of course, when the Fixer calls, we have to listen.
That's right.
So, anyway, getting back to the action. Saints have, Buffalo coming to town. They said 10-point favorite. I think that's probably right. I think the Saints will probably cover that spread. I certainly think that the Saints are going to win that ball game. They had that tough loss against New England in Foxborough, but, again, like we had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, it wasn't like there were any red flags or glaring weaknesses. You just had two great quarterbacks going head-to-head, and Brady at home had just enough. They say home, the Vegas guys like the Fixer will say that home field's worth 3 points, and the Saints were nipped by 3 points. So I expect the Saints to rebound in their first home game in about a month in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. A game I did not expect at the start of the season, did not have circled on my schedule. The New York Jets are going to Paul Brown Stadium to play at the Cincinnati Bengals. And, we've talked about the Bengals more. It seems like we're talking about them every week because they keep on winning.
They keep winning.
And the team I did not expect to be talking much about were the Jets. The Jets, I kind of laughed at them a little bit at the start of the year, especially after that Mark Sanchez fiasco in the final preseason game where Rex Ryan says, I'm trying to win a game, and he loses his starting quarterback. But Geno Smith, he hadn't blown the stat sheet away. He has, 1,700 yards, 8 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, needs to work on that. Not quite completing 60% of his passes, only 58% completion, but when the chips are down, the Jets have a solid defense. You're not running the ball against the New York Jets. So when you have a defense that can keep you in the games, and you have, Bilal Powell is, I guess, good enough in the backfield, and you have a guy like Geno Smith who can make some plays with his legs, you'll have some close games. And in the close games, Geno Smith has made the plays that need to be made, and he's gotten wins. And the Jets are, the Jets right now are 4-3.
Do you think Geno Smith has saved Rex Ryan's job?
Oh, absolutely. Because I think Rex Ryan was on his way out. I think after that, I think they were ready to fire him after the Sanchez injury when they put him in the fourth quarter of a meaningless preseason game.
I agree.
So he saved the snack man. And look, Rex Ryan's an excellent defensive coach, and that's the biggest. The quarterback always gets too much of the attention and too much of the credit and too much of the blame. It's that Jets defense that is just giving up, like I said, nothing on the ground to anybody, and they're forcing teams to pass, which is why they're giving up a few yards in the air. But the defense has kept the Jets in every game this year, and Ryan's strength is defense, and he's gotten, I guess, kind of a gift from his rookie quarterback. He's gotten just enough to keep himself viable.
Most definitely. Hey, coming up after the show, stay tuned.
Noel Jackson, Music Satisfaction.
Immediately following Louisiana All-American Sports Radio Show.
So I think the Bengals are going to win that game. I think, because here's the thing, the Jets do have a very good passer in Andy Dalton, a great receiver in A.J. Green. I don't expect the 1-2 punch of Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, the law firm, or Giovanni Bernard to be a big factor against the Jets defense, but I do think that Cincinnati has a slightly more experienced quarterback and better weapons on the outside, and they're at home. So I think they win that game. Another big game in the NFC in Detroit. Detroit, interestingly, hosted Cincinnati last week and lost in the last second on the last-second field goal. They have the Dallas Cowboys coming to town. And the Cowboys...
How about them Cowboys?
They got off to a shaky start, but, they've won 2 in a row. And to borrow a line from Lou in Major League, you win 3 in a row, that's called a winning streak. So, right, but the Cowboys have a winning record for the first time all year, and this is a chance for the Cowboys to prove whether they're a serious NFC contender, whether they just had some early season jitters, or if they're just going to be the best team in a bad division. DeMarco Murray is listed as questionable. I think he's the X factor in that game. He had a knee injury last week. I think it's a bruise of some sort. DeMarco Murray, is averaging... around over 5 yards a carry, 428 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, the Cowboys, he's the only running attack the Cowboys have, and that lies the problem, really has been the problem for the Cowboys the last 2 years. It's been Murray or bust. Detroit doesn't have a great running attack, but they do have Reggie Bush out of the backfield, and sometimes the short passes they can complete to Bush function as in lieu of viable running plays. But you got Megatron, Calvin Johnson. The Bengals couldn't stop him. I just don't see the Cowboys stopping him. Their secondary has been like Swiss cheese for much of the year. I think Detroit rebounds and the Lions win that game against the visiting Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Dad, I hate to break this to you, but the Dallas Cowboys are just not a very good football team, and they play in a very weak division.
Right. I mean, the New York Giants are 1-6, and they're only 2.5 games back.
Right. So
that tells you all you need to know about the NFC least.
Yeah. So Detroit's a much better team here. They just need to execute what they can do, and they should come out of this game with an easy victory over the Dallas Cowboys.
So while Perry is telling his father, "I told you so," there are some opportunities you might have to tell me, "I told you so," as we're ready for the bullseye or bull crap portion of the show, which we see in which I was right or I was wrong last week. Let's jump into that before we move on to America's pastime real quick and see where I hit the mark or where I missed the mark last week. I don't think he's enough to outduel
Major League Baseball,
John Chavis, and with the offense playing the way it is, I expect Zach Mettenberger to revert back to his video game-like numbers, putting up, after 11 yards per attempt, putting up 50 yards, multiple touchdowns. I think LSU is going to win this game going away, and it couldn't come at a better time for the Tigers. Look, you're the Sunday night football fiend. People have been, waiting all day for Sunday night. I think fans have been waiting all day for Sunday night. I think Denver is going to win this game. I think Peyton Manning is going to have a smile that just sticks with him in his sleep and on the plane ride all the way back home. Reggie Bush could be an X factor for the Lions, but right now I just think the Bengals have it together. But that's why they play the games. Noel Jackson, music of satisfaction. Max Scherzer has been money. 21-3. All he does is win, 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 no matter what, and I expect that tonight. Clay Buchholz in the postseason. The man with the bad perm has a 6.17 ERA this postseason. I really like Detroit in that Game 6. Well, so, you win some, you lose some, I suppose. Well, Detroit did not win that Game 6, as all of you know now, and Boston did in fact win that Game 6, and they are heading on, or not headed on, they have headed on to the World Series, in which they are currently tied with the St. Louis Cardinals at 1 game apiece. Boston just blew St. Louis to smithereens. Adam Wainwright looked like somebody you didn't know from Adam last week. Last Wednesday, as he just got absolutely shelled. Boston won that game 8-1. It was 8-0 going to the ninth. Boston, I guess, wanted to pat Ryan Dempster on the head, see if he can earn some of that $16 million that he has not earned since he's been in Boston, certainly not this year. Dempster comes in, Matt Holliday drops a turd in the punch bowl, makes it 8-1, but nonetheless, it looked really bad. I actually expected St. Louis to rebound at some point. I expected that series to be 1-1 going back to St. Louis, and it is rookie Michael Waka. Woo! Waka.
Pretty doggone good.
Boy, that kid has just got ice in his veins. He's got, they had 3 pitchers that night. 3 pitchers aged 23 or younger. You had Michael Waka, the rookie, who has a 1.0 ERA now in 5 postseason starts. You have Carlos Martinez, also 22 years old, who came in and just locked Boston up and killed any chance they had to rally. And then you had Trevor Rosenthal, solid guy, 23 years old. He was really emerging into the closer after St. Louis's regular closer was hurt earlier in the year. They just grow those pitchers out of the ground, it seems like, in St. Louis.
St. Louis has a fantastic model for baseball as an organization. They hone their own talent. They draft. They pick up late draft choices and make something out of them. And they'll sprinkle in 1 or 2 high-priced free agents but the rest are homegrown talent that came out of their farm system, and they make good with it. So it's a model organization for baseball, and they just do a fantastic job. We see Wainwright have games like he had in game 1 from time to time. You have to jump on him early. Boston scouted him well. They jumped on him first, second inning, put up a lot of runs.
They did jump on him, but there was also a comedy of errors that did not help Mr. Wainwright.
Right. Oh, yes. And Wainwright, now being considered for a Gold Glove from the pitcher position, didn't make an error all season, and he, in the 5-time Golden Glove winner,
Yadier Molina?
Yadier Molina let a ball drop between the two of them.
It reminded me of that scene in the classic Bugs Bunny Looney Tunes where he's like, where the outfield's like, I got it. Bam! You see his tombstone pop up. He got it.
Right.
Boy, St. Louis got it in game 1.
So look, though. So we're almost out of time. Just want to make sure that this week, on our last video segment, for those of you that are not up to speed on us, we post this radio show to YouTube with video attached to it. So it'll be after the show today, sometime later on today or tomorrow. You can go to YouTube, type in Louisiana All-American Sports in one word, and you'll see video attached to this radio show.
Or more like humorous slides.
Yeah, humorous slides. And a couple weeks ago, Eric was really cruel to today's starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, and that is
Joe Kelly starting tonight?
Oh, it is Joe Kelly.
It's
No, it's tomorrow's
you're talking about
start.
tomorrow when they got Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you got to be a little kinder to Lance Lynn because he did win that second NLCS game.
He did. I'll admit when I was wrong because he sure as heck blew woo, boy, he blew that first one for sure.
Yes.
Real quick, we got about 2 minutes left tonight. Clay Buchholz versus Joe Kelly in Game 3. While Clay Buchholz has a smoking hot wife, but yet a horrible perm, that's the lady from Deal or No Deal. I like the Cardinals tonight. I just have not been able to trust Clay Buchholz in postseason tonight. Of course, it could come down to the errors. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking these two teams are so good and so evenly matched. I'm thinking that the Cardinals only win 2 out of 3 in St. Louis.
I think you're right. I think it goes back to Boston for a Game 6. Real quick, also in the world of baseball, Jim Leyland, longtime manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Florida Marlins, and Detroit Tigers, announced he's stepping down. He's finally retiring. He's 68 years old, so I think this time is for good. I don't think it's like after Florida where he still had the baseball in his belly coming back.
And we never mentioned Louisiana native Andy Pettitte, who had a great career, retiring this year from the New York Yankees.
He's finally hanging it up, and I think his retirement's final too.
Yeah.
We got 1 minute left. Real quick, wanted to be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of things. The NBA is coming back next week. The Miami Heat will host the Chicago Bulls on Wednesday night. That should be very exciting to see. LeBron James also seeing the return of Derrick Rose. I think the Heat, back-to-back champions, are going to probably win that game. They'll be pretty charged up for that game. Also, wanted to mention the passing. Bill Sharman died at age 87, Basketball Hall of Famer, 3 titles with the Celtics in 1959, 1960, 1961, coach of the 72 Lakers that had the 33-game winning streak, and also the general manager who was responsible for drafting Magic Johnson, passed away of a stroke yesterday in Los Angeles.
And that's going to do it for the Louisiana All-American Sports Talk Show today. ADT, JNS, I love you. Take care. Until next week.
Good afternoon.
Good show.
Yeah, that was a good show.